Hi there, welcome to Don's Workshop. This is my review of the UCS Millennium Falcon. So after a few weeks, probably 3 weeks of building the Falcon, finally done, and it is sitting over here, completed, and that is a very large build. So let's get into first showing some of the minifigs. Here's the minifigs that came with it, and we have Chewbacca here. We have young Han Solo, and then we also have an C-3PO here. And then on the newer movies, because this is for both some of the old and new, so we have Finn here and Rey, and then we also have Princess Leia and Old Han. So that's pretty good collection of minifigs. And then we also have BB-8, and we have a couple of these Porgs, and we have one of the Mynock bat things. That is all the kind of the minifigs, the little builds that come with it. That's a pretty good collection. And then there's also the display panel here with the details, the Corellian Engineering Corporation, 34.75 meters, Gyrodyne, SRB42 sublight drives, 1,050 kilometers per hour in atmosphere. And then it's just some other details with the weapons, and can carry 2 pilots, 6 passengers, and 100 metric tons of cargo. During the build, as is with most big sets, you end up with a lot of extra pieces. There's lots of little pieces on this, so there was lots of little extra pieces. Now, also, usually I'm pretty good about finding where these kinds of pieces go, because these ones shouldn't really be extras, but I just couldn't identify where I missed some of these. So I'm pretty sure these belong somewhere, but I just couldn't find them where they went, and so still have these extra like 10 pieces here. I might try to do some more, because I know a couple of these must go on the panels that are sitting on the outside, so I might figure that out eventually. Now for the ship itself, it's got lots of these panels that are put on the top here. So you have the core build that had the Technic frame, and then the bottom is pretty solid, where you put together a lot of you put together some of the rooms and the fairly solid bottom plates to keep everything together. On the top, though, it's all just like panels that you build that are just kind of set on top like this. Just set on top. That one specifically to see that game room there. And then remembering that this is the other panel for like the engine room area back here. The other panels all come off too, and I'll show all of that in a second here. But as you can see, you have the cockpit over here, the front, the details on the front. The front doesn't have the front panels don't come off easily. They're tacked down. You get 2 dishes. You have the regular kind of dish, and then you have the newer kind of dish like this. We have the turret here. The turret does not move. Bottom turret doesn't move either, so they're there, but the bottom turret is the same build pretty much as the top turret. And then there is the side pods here. This one comes down with the ramp, and I'll show that too. But yeah, that comes down with the ramp. It's very hard to move it without knocking pieces off, so I won't quite move it quite yet. I'm going to get it. So I'm going to take off some of these panels here. We'll start with just the central one here, because this one has to come off before a lot of the other ones come off. With the turret, you have this panel here, and then as you can see the spot where he sits down in that in there. And then leaving that turret off, you got some details in there, but you can't really, it's pretty plain on the bottom. It's all the details on the top. Now that we have that off, we can start taking off some of the other panels. We've got a couple of just small panels on the side here that go around the cockpit hallway here. This one is actually connected in there, so I might just take the whole thing off here. Yeah, that's connected up there. Now we can get in and see the cockpit hallway there. Still, yeah, here's that gun. It can pop out and knock the panels off down there. Yeah, so you can see, you can get in there and see and position minifigs in there if you want, without having to take everything off. The rest of the panels have to be taken off by just kind of sticking these axles into some of these Technic bricks or Technic beams. So then, as you can see, the kind of build that's there. Now, the bottom panels are in there much more solidly than the top ones. The top ones just sit on. The bottom ones are actually hooked in, so they don't come off. And then there's this one big one up here that, as you can see, it just kind of is sitting on there and folds out like that. So that's a pretty big panel there. It is on there, not very well. I guess it's supposed to be tacked down there. It keeps coming off. It's not the strongest connection there, so it's not really supposed to come off. Then we have the panels in the back here. So we have this one that can come off to get easy access to that room. And then we have the bigger ones. Got one on the back here. Oh, that one doesn't come off because it's clipped. So it's clipped on in there. And then this one comes off easily because it's just hooked on with the axle. And then this one will come off as well over here. So that one will come off. And this is where you only have these two rooms that you build. You build this room and you build that room. And then there's another just kind of empty spot underneath here. And this is all one solid piece, and they're clipped on, and they're pretty solid onto this middle piece here, which is also connected with Technic pins onto the bottom. So that's all the panels that come off. And then we have down here, we have the actual ramp. So the ramp can come down, and that's just a little detail that you can see there with that ramp. Yeah, the ramp is just an interesting little detail that's nice to have on the ship. That is everything on here, and this turns as well, so that's a little clicky piece there, the turntable on that. So that's pretty good detailed build. It's mostly, once you have those panels off, you should mostly stay together. But yeah, like I said, this one doesn't sit on that. Yeah, it doesn't want to stay on that brick very easily. So minifigs in place if you so choose. It looks pretty good. It is got lots of details on it, and it was not too bad to build, even with all the greebling. At least I thought it wasn't too bad to build. Anyway, so that's the UCS Millennium Falcon. During the build, I found it a pretty good build to start. Now, to start, as we're building through, about halfway through, after it got done building the frame and kind of the bottom section, that seemed like pretty solid. That was very a pretty satisfying build up to that point. Getting those bottom panels on, everything connected really good and solid. And then I started feeling like, as I was putting the top panels on, it was a little less satisfying. It just kind of didn't feel quite as good as putting together those bottom panels. And I was just thinking, like, is this, what's wrong here? And although the panels on the top are pretty detailed, because they don't click on and they don't stay very solid on, they're not very Lego-y is what I like to put it. Like, Lego should really stick, and the fact that it doesn't on the top, and these panels just kind of sit there and they can rattle around, it's so easy for these ones to knock off. And I know this is a set from 2017, so maybe they hadn't gotten into like making the good connections, like for example on the Electron Renegade has those really good connections for connecting the ship parts together. And I know same with the Titanic has some pretty good connections for connecting the side panels on as well. And just doesn't feel quite as Lego-y. It's a great, as far as Star Wars, it's like great Star Wars set. It has all those details, but when it comes to the Lego, it doesn't feel the top part just doesn't feel as satisfying to just have it together, because it doesn't stick together. It falls apart. Far too easy, or to me, I think it's even worse than the AT-AT. I think they did a bit better job on the AT-AT, but still those panels, hard to move it around because the panels will fall off. So now, because they're on the top and you have to pretty much, or you have to hold the ship straight from underneath or else other stuff will break off. The panels shouldn't fall off, but they're there, and if you move it around in a certain way, it's pretty easy for them to fall off. Also, just the the fine details, because I build a lot of the cars. Like the car models for Lego are very, very smooth. Like, these pieces go together so like perfectly. Like, they really make these details like really nice. And I wonder if that's going to translate into a newer Millennium Falcon at some point that has the much finer like finish, the better finish, polish around, putting those pieces together, especially on the top. The cars have a very great finish. Now, maybe it's easier with the smaller set, but with each of those panels, like, they could do more to get the panels to fit together better and more solidly than they do right now, and maybe even rethinking the modularity on it, because a lot of especially with the Millennium Falcon, there's a lot of like modularity to it that they could lean into on a new set to make it like similar to like the connectivity of the Blacktron Renegade or the Titanic as well, because the Titanic is just 3 big modules you hook together really solidly. They get hooked together. So I still thought it was a great set. It was a very complete build, lots of great details on it, and as a Star Wars fan, it was this is the set I've been like waiting to get and put together. So I'm happy with it, and I do think maybe at some point I might have to figure out a way to tack the panels down better and make that more finished, so that I can move it around easier and put it where I want to put it. Anyway, if you'd like that review, like to see more, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and take it easy.